It's exciting to present at the Colleton County Memorial Library our special guest.
We're gonna learn, having fun all the way. Somebody said, let's listen, sing, and learn.
I'm excited about meeting different authors. Miss Shiela is going to introduce us to a variety of authors who write children's books. So make sure you join Miss Shiela as we meet the author. Here's Miss Shiela with an author.
Good morning. I'm so excited that we have an author that has so much experience he wanted to put it in a book. Boys and girls, you're going to get excited because I'm already excited. His book is in the library and you can come and check it out, or you can get your own copy. But let's meet the author today. His name is Doug Coates. Hi, Doug.
Good morning, Miss Shiela. How are you?
Fine, Mr. Doug, and I'm just ready to go into this fun day that we're going to have with you. But first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me. This is really nice of you.
Yeah.
As Miss Shiela said, I am an author, and I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I've lived most of my life. I still work part-time in a regular job, but I spend the rest of my time writing. I've written books about children and character growth, and I do it in a fun way. Both books so far are baseball related. The first one is baseball and a little league pitcher, and the second one is about softball and a young girl that wants to play badly, but she has Down syndrome and she's afraid of being rejected because her skills aren't very good. So boys and girls, when I write these books, I'm trying to envision talking with you about things that matter to you, like playing sports or piano or swimming, and the character growth that goes along with it. I just did an author interview this week virtually with the classroom. And we talked half of the hour about why they want to write and become authors themselves. And then we talked about character, and they really liked it, and that's what I enjoy doing. And when this pandemic is over, I'll get back into the classrooms because that's where I really enjoy talking to the kids up close.
That is awesome, Doug. All right, well, let's get started because the boys and girls are wanting to know more about you as an author. So we're going to ask a series of questions, and boys and girls, you get to find out about Mr. Doug Coates. Let's begin. So please tell us, when did you know that you wanted to be a writer?
Back when I was probably in elementary school, I loved writing, and sometimes I wrote things even if the teachers didn't ask us to. And I remember writing a story about being a baseball player, and another story about being a race car driver. But it really didn't happen until I was much older. And for one of the jobs I was working, I had the opportunity to write what are called grants. And those are proposals to get money to help our organization provide services to children, families, things like that. And I was almost immediately successful at writing these grants and getting my company some much needed funds. So I wanted to continue doing that. I started writing some picture books series and found an editor to help me with those, and I tried to get a publisher. But I didn't get them published at the time. But my editor got me very excited about writing my first children's book. And it was that point when I started writing it, I realized this is what I want to do on the side.
Wow. So how old were you when you decided?
I was old, Miss Shiela. I was in my 50s.
Really?
Yes.
That is, well, that's not old, Doug.
It's not old. And you know what, Miss Shiela, I've come to learn as I travel around and go to different book fairs, there's no set standard to be an author. I've met children that are authors. I've met people that are 80 and 90 years old that are first-time authors.
That's right.
So it's whatever your passion is and what you want to do.
Wow. So it's safe to say that, or as a writer of grants, caused you to want to dive into writing.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Okay. So you said your first books were children's books. Did you know you wanted to target children when you first started writing?
I did. The picture book was one idea. That was just something that popped in my head one day, and I started jotting down notes. The first book that I wrote for children comes directly as a result of my being involved with an organization called the Joe Nuxhall Miracle League. And the Joe Nuxhall Miracle League is an organization that provides facilities for boys and girls with special needs. Those that are in wheelchairs, have physical disabilities and so forth. It gives them the opportunity to play a type of baseball that's a little different than maybe you're used to seeing, but it is just for them. And the reason it makes such a difference to me, I played baseball when I grew up. I played all the way through, really, I stopped playing 6-7 years ago. That's how long I've been playing. But I also coached. I coached my kids. I have 3 kids, and I coached in high school. And one of the things that it did for me being at the Miracle League was I saw how difficult it was for these children to get out of their special vans and things like that and getting up to the field. But then when they got on the field, they just laughed and had a good time, and there's no rules. They don't keep score. But I realized that all of my fears as a coach and concerns when a pitcher got his arm hurt and things like that really were inconsequential when you look at the kids and what they go through. Wow. We had one mother who brought her 2 children. They're both in wheelchairs, and one of them has medical IV bags attached. And she wanted their children to be as normal as possible and do something. So that's what got me started writing that first book. And in both of my books, there's references to the Miracle Leagues and how some of my characters in the book end up playing at the Miracle League.
Awesome. Now, both of your books are fiction, correct?
They're both fiction. The first one's a little bit of fiction and nonfiction.
Maybe historical fiction?
Historical fiction. It's based, I mentioned the word Joe Nuxhall. He was a great pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds.
Right.
And he was a broadcaster, but he also, in his spare time when he retired, he would go into the classrooms and talk to children about character. And that was my motivation. So I used him in that first book. And this is that book that we're talking about. I don't know if it's noticeable, but on the back, you can see his image.
You can see it clearly.
As a 16-year-old, he's the youngest player to ever sign a major league contract at the age of 15 and 8 months, something like that.
Wow.
But he was so motivated to teach character to children that I wanted to capture that and put it in that first book. So that's the mix of historical fiction and historical nonfiction and fiction.
Do you think you want to do any other genre, or you think you want to stick with this one?
I'm going to go down this path for a little while. We're jumping ahead, but I am working on a third book for about a year now, and it's again about character in baseball and an inner city league team. I do have goals to write an adult suspense thriller, though, and so once in a while I'll put notes down. By the way, it's one of the things I do, keep paper by my bed. If I wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, I write it down. So
that's a good idea. So how did you determine your title? That is always hard. As an author myself, I always find the title to probably be the last thing that I do. And then when I talk to others, they say that's the first thing they do and they work around it. So how did you come up with your title?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I have found that if I spend too much in the beginning on the title, it kind of narrows my point of view of how I'm going to write the book. So I wait till I'm really about 2/3 done because as you know, being an author, you change your strategy and course of writing throughout the whole piece. Mm-hmm. So when I'm about 2/3 done, I look at maybe some overall things that pop out constantly, and that helps me. My editor helped me considerably with the first book. And I'm actually embarrassed to admit it, but I came up with a title that sounded really great, but it had the word catching in it. And Joe Nuxhall was a pitcher, so that didn't make any sense whatsoever. So she pointed that out, and she helped me with that title. And so to answer your question, I tend to wait towards the first draft is done, and I get a better idea of what the theme is.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, how do you select your characters? Do you base it on people you work with? Maybe your children? Who are your characters based on?
Well, some of the characters in both books are from the Miracle League, just based on observations of some of the players I've met over time. But in my second book, Riley's Winning Catch, and this is about the young girl with Down syndrome, I'll be very honest with you. It is based on an actual person here in Cincinnati who has Down syndrome. He's actually about 32 years old now. And he's what I call one of our ambassadors to the Miracle League. We bring him out to special events. He greets our guests at our annual fundraiser. And the Cincinnati Reds hired him to be a greeter at the Reds game. And he's just a bubble of fun. So I actually interviewed them in their home about 2 months before I started writing. And so a lot of Riley in this second book is based on Teddy. Just some of the characteristics of Down syndrome and some of the little quirks that they both have, like they're both scared of counting money. And that's just one of those things. And so I tried to do these things based on Teddy. And I got Teddy's permission and his mom's permission to put a little paragraph in the book saying, this is about Teddy in some ways. And they like that.
It's an honor to get selected as a character to be represented in a book. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Wow. What is in your heart that you want to share with the readers?
I want to continue passing along what Joe Nuxhall wanted to do, and that is to get ingrained in the youngest age possible that they can understand what it means to have good character, good sportsmanship. And if you keep reinforcing that in ways that they understand and in fun ways, the hope is as they grow into young adults and older adults that they'll continue those good ways. Because I think we both know that we need a lot of good character reshaping now.
We do.
And I suggest to my readers that they read the book twice at least. Read the first time just to get the fun out of the story.
Right.
Then go back and read it and forget about baseball or softball. You can put in piano playing, you can put in pottery making, you can do anything like that. But go for the in-depth message of character. I've had parents read this, grandparents, I've had coaches read it. I had one of my first radio interviews along with Kim Nuxhall. The commentator said to me, you know, I read your book, and if I had read this 20 years ago when I was coaching, I would have done things a lot differently.
Wow.
And that just made a real impression upon me because I didn't know who all I was writing to at that time.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think the boys and girls are going to really enjoy reading that. And you know, another thing is teachers can use that because I know teachers who have read-alongs in the classroom and they're chapter books. And this is a great read-along. And as you said, our society needs to see the importance of losing gracefully.
One other short story. I had been writing that first book for about 3 months, and I hit what they call writer's block. I hit a wall. Couldn't figure out where to go. And my wife and I went to a motivational seminar that was put on by a gentleman who's also an author. And it was about building character for men and women. Wow. And while it was based on adults, the message carried down. And I came home from that, it was about a 2-hour seminar, and I went to my computer, deleted everything I had written, and I started over. And that's just how things happen. So,
well, please, sir, would you read an excerpt from one of your books? And dare I ask, which one is your favorite? Dare I ask?
Oh,
because it's always so hard trying to decide.
It's hard, Miss Shiela. I love both of them. And as a writer, I grew in the second book. But I'm going to read from Riley, if that's okay.
That's fine.
And this is a point where Riley has been watching the local girls softball team practice for almost 2 years now. And her parents are really kind of unaware of it, even though her mom sort of suspects it. But Riley gets approached by the coach one day, and while they're practicing, and he encourages her to help out a little bit. And he asked her to basically join the team, which is something that she's just thrilled. So I'm going to put on my reading glasses. Okay, here we go. Mom asked Riley if she knew she would be part of the practice tonight. She knew Riley didn't own a glove, and to her knowledge, she had not thrown a softball before tonight. Let's say that it turned out differently than I expected, was Coach Armstrong's reply. The coach said she had met Riley near the third base fence, and after talking to her for a few minutes, she saw how interested Riley was in softball, and she invited Riley to sit in on the dugout for a better view. Mom admitted that she had driven by the park often on her way to the store and saw her daughter watching softball. She smiled at Riley while she shared this information. It was encouraging for Riley to see her mom's reaction, and she began to believe that her parents would let her play. So what an evening, explained Coach Armstrong. The coach added, "Thank you, Coach," was Mom's sincere reply. "Riley's made up her mind, and my husband and I don't need to discuss it further. I'm sure Riley knows that making a commitment to an organization," commitment, that's one of our character words, means she shows up at every practice and game and tries her best.
I love it.
And I think I'll stop there.
Okay, I love it. And it is intriguing because I wanted to hear more.
Yeah.
So I am so thankful that you have shared with us the Colleton County family. And at the Colleton County Memorial Library, we look for ways to get children to love reading and learning and growing. And guess what, Mr. Doug? You helped us with that today.
I'm glad. That makes me feel good.
You did. So I look forward to maybe seeing more books in the future from Mr. Doug Coates. Boys and girls,
Definitely.
Thank you for listening, and come by and ask about Mr. Doug's work, and we will gladly show you where they're located. Take care until we see you the next time.
Bye, boys and girls. Take care.